How do you live with an alcoholic without enabling them? That's what this week's video is about, because if you love an alcoholic, my guess is that you've already spent a lot of time, effort, and money trying to get them sober. And my question for you is, has it worked? And most likely, if you're watching this video, the answer is no. So let me help you. My name is Michelle. I'm a psychotherapist, and I love helping people create relationships that work. But in this video, I'm going to show you 7 concrete tips on how to love them without enabling them and without losing yourself in the process. So the first thing is you have to stop trying to get them sober because it's not working. Part of what happens when we do that is we're in control mode, and most of the time that really negatively impacts the relationship because the alcoholic or addict in our life feels controlled and they start to get defensive. So it really starts to negatively impact the relationship. So what I want you to do is just let yourself off the hook. This is not your problem to fix. And that can be a really hard thing to do if you're codependent, if you're a family member that really is scared about your loved one's addiction. You might be afraid they're gonna die. You might be afraid they're gonna hurt someone. But all of that is out of your hands. So stop trying to get them sober, and I want you to put that energy elsewhere, which leads to number 2. I want you to preserve your own emotional resources so that you don't spend them all on the alcoholic. So what happens when you love an alcoholic is that you put all your emotional eggs in their basket. You're totally focused and consumed with getting them help because the disease is so scary to watch. But the problem is, the more you focus on what is outside of your control, the more out of control you feel because nobody can control another person. So what I want you to do is redirect that focus back onto yourself so that you can start to preserve some of that energy that you're spending on them. Spend it on other people like yourself, your kids, what is important to you, not always on the alcoholic or addict, because it's not yielding the results you want. Believe me, it's kinder to stop controlling the uncontrollable, and you're going to preserve your sanity in the process. Number 3, I want you to start educating yourself on addiction and/or alcoholism, especially the disease concept, because there are markers, genetic and psychosocial, that contribute to someone being addicted. So a lot of times I hear my clients say from the first drink, they knew they were hooked because it made them feel normal. It made them feel like they could finally cope with life. Whereas a quote normal drinker takes their first drink and goes, they can take it or leave it. Because the thing is that people don't choose to become addicted, okay? There's a predisposition that happens. They often grow up in families where they're not taught how to deal with stress. There might be childhood trauma. There is a lot of other things happening that set the person up to become addicted later in life. So they see that drink or that substance as their solution. And it's going to be really hard for them to give up their solution before they're ready because they don't see it as a problem. You as the family member sees the addiction as the problem, which is why this video is going to help you not only take care of yourself, but also preserve the relationship because I know that's important to you. Number 4, get the right support. Oftentimes, family and friends are not the best choice because they might tell you things like, you should just leave them or stop giving them money or you got to kick them out. But it can be hurtful to be on the receiving end because you probably already feel isolated. So what I want you to do is seek out other support like Al-Anon or Coda, or if you want something more private, individual counseling. There are places you can go that will give you the support you need without judgment because it's super important to not be judged around this issue. You don't deserve that. Number 4, increase your self-care. My guess is that you've spent so much of your energy focusing on trying to help or rescue the alcoholic in your life that you've probably neglected yourself, your physical health, your emotional health, maybe even your spiritual health. And what I want you to do is start simple. Find 1 or 2 things you can start to do today, like get more sleep, take a walk, call a friend, catch up on your bills. Do things that you maybe haven't done in a long time because all of your energy has been spent taking care of or trying to fix the alcoholic in your life. Because self-care is going to help you cope in the long run, because when you're running on empty and dealing with someone who's addicted to alcohol, it's a recipe for disaster because you're going to be running on fumes, and I don't want that for you. And your relationship is actually going to get healthier when you start to take care of yourself, because then you're going to be in a much more grounded place to deal with your alcoholic loved one. Number 5, don't take their behavior personally. Often what happens is the alcoholic will lash out and blame you to get the focus off of their addiction. So if they find fault in you and you're the nag or you're the one causing them problems, then the whole conversation gets steered away from the fact that they're still drinking or they're still using. So when you notice that blaming behavior, just notice that they're scrambling to survive at this point. They're trying to protect their addiction because they don't have another way to live. They don't see another option for themselves, because if they did, I believe they would take it. But so many alcoholics and addicts get into that space where they have to have the substance in order to survive and to deal with life. And whenever a loved one confronts that issue, they get scared. And the easiest way they can get the focus off of their addiction is to blame you, because deep down, they know they can't function without it. Number 5, consider your boundaries. This is super important because without good boundaries, you're going to lose yourself in the relationship again, and you're going to feel resentful. So what I want you to do instead is think about where you want to participate with the alcoholic in your life and where you want to remove yourself. So for instance, if there's a party coming up and you know that they tend to get drunk at the party and cause a scene, you may decide to stay home. Or you may decide to take separate cars because then you don't feel trapped in that situation. I want you to recognize where your boundary is, because that's going to help preserve your relationship, because you're going to be able to spend time with them when it works and walk away when it doesn't. And that's going to really decrease the conflict and preserve the love that you already have with your alcoholic loved one. Number 7, I want you to find outside sources for joy, because part of what happens when you're codependent or when you love an alcoholic is that you base your happiness on that other person. If they're having a good day, I'm having a good day. But that's not really fair, because that means you might have a lot of crappy days, and I don't want that for you. So what I want you to do is consider what makes you happy. Where can you increase the joy in your life without necessarily involving the alcoholic person in your life? This could be starting a hobby, joining a group, or taking a class that you've always wanted to do, something where you can look forward to that event or that relationship so that you can get some joy and really feel more connected in life. Because the more you get your happiness outside of that relationship, the more you're going to be calm and centered and be able to see the good in the relationship with your alcoholic loved one versus all the problems. Now, to deepen the work, I have some journal prompts for self-care and boundary setting that I'm going to leave in the description of this post so that you can get those too. And I'm also going to have you watch the next video on codependency stages of recovery, because if you're wanting to really do this work, you need to know what recovery looks like, and I can't wait for you to watch it. Thanks so much.